but I first want to tell people it's important to know what sports psychology and the mental game is, but it's also important to know what it's not. Because psychology alone, that word has a negative connotation, has a negative sound. It's like, oh, psychology, something's wrong with me.
Mhm.
Sports psychology is actually not that. What sports psychology is, or the mental game, it's the study of success. That's what it really is. The study of the mind at its best. And so when I talk to athletes, I say, hey, would you like shun away from going to a strength and conditioning coach? No, I got to get stronger. Okay, would you, if you were hurt, would you not go to a physical therapist? No, I would go. That'd be the smart thing to do. What about like a massage therapist? What about if you're a baseball player, a hitting coach, or if you are a football player, a route coach or whatever you want to call that? You know what that is. So all of a sudden, like, yeah, these people are all going to help me get where I want to go. But then when it comes to the mental game, it's like, oh, a sports psychologist, is he going to like analyze me, or is he going to like talk about my childhood? What is that? And so we want to get away from that. And I say, okay, you're already here. I'm trying to get you here. And that little bit is huge.
It's all the difference.
The Tim Grover, you know who that is? That's a guy who
Mhm.
worked out Michael Jordan. And people
Yeah.
said, oh man, it must have been so easy for you to work with Michael Jordan. And he said, it's like the absolute opposite. Like, here's the guy, the greatest ever, and I'm trying to just get him a little bit here, a little bit there. That was his only goal. And he did such a good job, obviously. But that's what sports psychology is. It's you're in a good place, or you're at a place, and then you just want to go a little bit higher. And it's all because of this. There are sports psychologists who work with people who do have like depression and major anxiety and have suicidal thoughts. Like, yes, that is a field. But when we talk about sports psychology in general, most sports psychology consultants is what I call myself. I can't call myself a sports psychologist. They're helping you. You're already here. You want to get here. Most people do not reach out to a sports psych coach until the check engine light's on, until something goes wrong, right? And maybe you can chat about this in a second, but when people say, hey, when should you start sports psychology? 2 months before your season, like right now, but
Yeah.
2 months before your season. So like what you talked about, you focused on preparation for this moment. Okay, if I start working with a team the day before their game, like there's really no point, because there's no
Yeah.
chance to let things sink in. It's like if I have a firm foundation, for about a week, I have to let it set right before I can build on it. I don't just work on wet cement. So I know I'm belaboring this, but I really want people to know that sports psychology is not something to be shunned or afraid of. It's
Not
so
at all.
necessary, and it's bigger than ever, especially with COVID. But mental health is bigger than ever. Almost every major sports team has at least one. In baseball, they have like a team of sports psychology consultants. And then in college, most D1 teams have a sports psych consultant or somebody in the office the counseling office who is able to do that. So can you talk a little bit about what you've seen at the professional and at the college level, and anything else just from what I was talking about?
Yeah, I don't think we had one at Miami, unless I just was completely oblivious to them. But I think that there definitely should be a sports psychologist at every organization, college for sure, and then the pros. When I was in San Francisco, I know for a fact we had a lady who was our sports psychologist, and it's so important to be able to just talk to somebody, because because I was somebody who I didn't realize that I dealt with like anxiety before games until I was done playing. And like, I wish that I would have spoken to a sports psychologist and got into that a lot earlier, because there were times where like I would make a mistake and I would feel like the anxiety kind of creep in, and then I would make another mistake. And to be able to talk to someone about how to recenter yourself, come back into the present moment after you made a mistake is so important, because athlete, we're going to make a mistake regardless. Now, whether it throws you off your game or not is one thing, but to be able to snap back in and just have that next play mentality is crucial to an athlete's success.
Absolutely. That's such a good point, because those things are gonna happen. You're gonna make mistakes. Again, at the highest level, you guys are perfectionists at heart, because
Mhm.
if you're not, then you're just never gonna get there, right? We talked about the Jonathan Siegel, and he was the best flyer because he put in the time, the effort. Um, Kind of going back to why sports psych has a bad name slash has been slow in really breaking through is, in the I want to say in the 50s and 60s, coaches were everything. They were the strength and conditioning coach. They were the physical therapist. They were the X's and O's. They were the mental coach. At some point, they handed off strength and conditioning. At some
Mhm.
point, they handed off the physical therapy. At some point, they handed um, off other duties so that they could focus on the X's and O's. And the one thing that they have not let go of is the mental game. They think that they're still in charge of what the athlete should be thinking, and it's an ego thing. It's
Mhm.
such an ego thing that's like, no, why would I allow somebody else to control, or not control, but help people think the way I know how they should think, right? But you just said it yourself, and that I wish I had somebody to vent to. Imagine saying, going up to one of your coaches, Belichick, and saying, "Coach, I got some crazy anxiety. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch a pass tonight." I mean, you're not going to see the field. And like, if Tom Brady's even within earshot of that, he's like, "Dude, I'm not going through.
Yeah,
I'm not
you're not
throwing to
saying
Cleveland tonight."
that.
Right? And so the ability to have somebody who's a third party who cares about the name on the back of your jersey rather than the number, wow, how peaceful is that? Um, to be able to just vent and to be honest, because just speaking things out is so helpful. Just to get it out of here and out here does two things. It makes it real, and then it frees you up to have new thoughts. Because if
Yeah,
it's just swirling and swirling and swirling and it has no exit, it's going to eat you up. It's going to affect your sleep. Sleep's so important, right? In rejuvenation, refreshing, and playing at your best. So, um,
yeah,
coaches need to release that part. Their job is X's and O's, okay? Because they can't do a great job with the mental game, because players are not going to be honest with them. How do you feel
yeah.
today? Inside, I am scared. I'm lonely. I'm hurting. Physically. I'm good, coach. Put me in
Good
right
coach.
now, right? And so to be able to have that third party is huge.
Yeah, and then even once you're able to say how you're feeling out loud, you have an opportunity to now observe that thought and be
Mm,
able to say, like, you know what, maybe that's not true. And it's just how your mind can play tricks on you. And so once you're able
mm-hmm.
to observe that thought and then, like you said, replace it with a new thought, then you're able to move forward and understand that next time that thought does creep back in, you know that it's fake. So you can move
Right.
right past it.
Absolutely. That's so true.